Every year, innocent children are admitted to New Zealand hospitals with shaken baby syndrome. And it's just the normal sound of a baby crying which can be the life-threatening trigger.
It was that moment of picking him up and just in sheer frustration. Shut up. He couldn't get him to be quiet.
One momentary lapse in judgment and a baby's life could be changed forever.
When a baby's brain is shaken, the tissues move and tear more easily than they would in an adult.
1 in 5 will die.
They called it and decided to turn off her life support. I remember pleading, begging, please, there must be something that you can do. There has to be.
A newborn baby is tiny and helpless, totally reliant on its parents or guardians for care and love. Life's journey may see a few bumps and bruises, but not in babies, as they are at their most vulnerable.
The head is much bigger proportionately compared to the rest of the body. The neck muscles are much weaker. The structure of the brain itself is different. So a baby's head is much more susceptible to this kind of injury than an older child or an adult.
So any violent shaking can cause serious head injuries or even death, a condition known as shaken baby syndrome. As parents, a crying baby can tip us over the edge. When your baby cries, they're trying to communicate with you and the world. However, if their crying is tipping you over the edge, remember it's okay to put the baby down in a safe place, walk away and take a short break.
I think the common scenario is probably that you have a crying baby and an adult that can't cope with that crying. They're stressed, they're tired, they're angry about something. It may be the middle of the night, they don't know how to cope, and they snap and they shake that baby.
So how does shaking a baby cause so much damage? Hard shaking causes the baby's head to whip back and forth uncontrollably.
The brain moves inside the skull, that stretches the vein, that tears the veins, and it also tears the substance of the brain itself, and also can tear the layers inside the eye. And often babies will stop breathing as well, and when they stop breathing, that cuts off oxygen supply to the brain, that makes the brain swell further. 1 in 5 of these babies will die, and of those that survive, the vast majority will have some form of permanent severe brain injury.
9-year-old Ryan is one of those children who suffers from a number of injuries after being shaken as a 5.5-month-old baby. These include epilepsy, blindness and behavioural problems. He's now looked after by his grandmother Julie.
Ryan was shaken by his mother's boyfriend, who was supposed to be looking after him until it was time to take him to his caregiver.
Ryan's case is typical of the children we see with shaken baby syndrome who has serious permanent injury that is going to require someone helping to care for him for the rest of his life. He ended up being cared for by a loving grandparent who, because of her devotion to him, will make a huge difference to his life.
To see a child, any child that's been hurt and in hospital is heartbreaking. You just can't explain how you feel. It's a huge jolt. You don't expect it to happen to you.
Bevan never expected he would become a permanent caregiver to his granddaughter Caitlin just a few months after she was born.
Caitlin was the precious little jewel of my life. Caitlin was the be-all and end-all of everything to me when she first arrived.
However, Caitlin's life hung in the balance after she was shaken by her parents as a very young baby.
I give her my heart. I just loved her to bits.
Bevan and Kay have put retirement on hold to look after their disabled granddaughter.
She has responded to every little bit of what Kay and I have given her, and she is now a 6-year-old developing into a lovely young lady.
This kind of injury is seen in all cultures and in all races and in all ethnic groups all across the world.
However, sometimes your child or baby's life is entrusted to a caregiver, a grandparent or a babysitter. Is it someone you trust? Kahurangi has 2 young boys and knows what it's like to feel stress and anguish as a busy parent. In 2003, her world fell apart when her daughter Anahera was rushed to a Wellington hospital and Kahurangi had no idea why.
In Anahera's case, she had a blow or impact to the head, and that's very common in shaken babies. Many babies are not just shaken, there's often impact as well, but in both cases they suffer serious harm.
With her daughter's life hanging by a thread, Kahurangi learned the awful truth behind Anahera's injuries and felt compelled to tell a hospital nurse.
I said to her, I've got something to tell you. And I said, my partner has just admitted to hitting my daughter.
Medical staff realised there was no way Anahera would recover from her injuries, so a decision was made to switch off her life support.
And I remember pleading, begging, please, there must be something that you can do. There has to be. And he said, I'm sorry, there's nothing that we can do. And I said, well, this can't be it. And he was like, yes, this is it.
Anahera's stepfather was charged with manslaughter and jailed.
If I knew what I knew now, back then, it would be very different. And it's easy for people to go, but there must have been some sign, you must have known, this stuff doesn't happen in isolation. Well, actually, whether there were signs or not, it actually didn't stop the fact that she's not around anymore.
Taking care of a baby is a full-time job. New parents are suddenly thrown into a life of sleep deprivation and stress. A crying baby can tip many of us over the edge. But there are a few simple ways to deal with a crying baby. Try and stay calm. Hold the baby close. You could even try massaging their back. Try feeding baby. Singing, humming or talking may help. Maybe even try some playtime. Put the baby in a stroller and go for a walk. You could try putting them in their car seat and taking a drive. But if you feel yourself losing control, put the baby in a safe place and walk away.
If your children make you mad, get out of there. Get out of there real quick. And actually find somebody that you can share your reality with.
So try calling a relative, a friend, or even a trusted neighbour to take a break. Remember, it's okay to know when you've reached your limit.
Remove yourself, be strong enough, because that's not failing. Don't think that you have to be able to do this, you have to be able to fix this. If you've tried everything and baby's still crying, then remove yourself. Like my son wasn't thinking, it was that one, shut up. And that caused all this damage.
Sharon's grandson, Brodie, was just a month old when he was shaken by his father.
He'd been, tried giving him a feed, he'd walked him, he'd put him on his bouncer. There was a lot of stress, with a first child, young parents, it's all new.
And all it took was one violent shake to put newborn Brodie in Starship Hospital with serious injuries.
And my son was honest. He told me straight up what had happened. It wasn't intentional, but the impact of that one mistake has cost us as a family and Brodie. And my son went to jail. He did 3 years. He's had to live with the fact that even though he did not mean to hurt his baby, it has.
Well, parents and caregivers go through enormous anguish. It's not just the anguish of coping with the loss of their child or the loss of their child's future, it's the anguish of coping with the shame and the denial. It's a devastating process for families as well as for the children involved.
Shaken baby syndrome is preventable. Everyone feels stress, however, it's not okay to take it out on the baby. Just walk away, come back and comfort baby when you've calmed down. Before you feel yourself losing control, make sure you have a plan in place on who to call for help. And if anyone is looking after your baby, give them your contact details in case they're unable to cope. For more information, contact your health provider